Hey Anthony, now that we know how to smell and taste, how do we see?
You know, you're right. I think this is the best time for some Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Science rules.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Inertia is a property of matter. T minus 7 seconds.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Whoa, what is this?
This, Nikki, is the eye.
How does light enter through the eye?
Well, we start in the beginning. You see this arrow sign. Light bounces off the arrow and goes to the eye. First, it goes through the cornea, and then the aqueous humor, and then right there, it reaches the pupil, where the irises, the two muscles for the irises, they contract or relax to change the size of the iris, the pupil, and then that would in turn regulate how much light goes into the eye. So when light travels through the pupil, it hits the lens, where the lens refracts the light. There are two muscles on both sides, the ciliary muscles, which are connected to the ligaments which are connected to the lens, and the lens either bulges or narrows to refract the light that goes through the eye. And then after that, the light goes through the vitreous humor. And the vitreous humor and the aqueous humor are just supportive layers for the eye, so they don't really do much to affect the light. But when the light hits the retina, that's when all the photoreceptors in the photoreceptor cells in the retina are activated. Light stimulates the photoreceptor cells in the retina, and cones and rods are an important part of this whole process. In the macula, which is part of the retina, there are areas in the center called the fovea, which are the areas with the most cones and rods in the entire eye. And the cones, remember the C means color. Cones process the color, while the rods process the amount of light. After this process, the light hits the photoreceptor cells and excites the cells, starting an action potential in the area, and then it travels down the optic nerve, where it meets up with the other eye, and then this area where the optic nerves meet up is the optic chiasm. From there, it goes through to the brainstem, zoom, and then it goes through that thalamus, where that sends a signal to the occipital lobe, where the primary visual cortex processes the visual information.
So Anthony, you're telling me that when light enters through the eye, it goes through the cornea, through the aqueous humor to the iris, which contract or relax, that controls the size of the pupil, which regulates the amount of light that enters through the eye. And then the ciliary muscles help regulate the size of the lens, which help in refraction of the light. And the vitreous humor and the aqueous humor are supporting bodies for the eyeball. And then in the back of the eye is the retina, where the macula is located. And then in the middle of the macula, foveas are located, and foveas are where most cones and rods are located. And cones are for color, and rods are for light.
Yep, and then the light excites the photoreceptor cells in the retina, which in turn causes an action potential, which goes through the optic nerve all the way to the brain in the occipital lobe, where the visual information is processed.
Yeah!